Hey, dear students, faculty, staff, families of our Badger Network. Welcome to our third virtual forum, and please participate through the texting feature, and really nothing is off the table. So as you think about those things you might want to discuss, let me just say a word or two about our situation. You know, our nation, state, and we here at Snow College really are facing a serious challenge from this global pandemic. And this is extraordinary situation with COVID-19 requires really applying everything we as Badgers have: leadership, loyalty, integrity, excellence, respect for each other, and of course the selfless service that you show in order to navigate those challenges effectively. And during the moment of uncertainty, I understand the stress and anxiety that many of us feel, and yet I really have great faith in our Snow College community. We will get through this together and demonstrate, again, the Badger capacity to surmount every challenge. So as we continue to monitor the best ways to respond to the unprecedented impact of this historic pandemic, I am sincerely grateful for everyone helping us address our two highest priorities. So first of all, I'd like to thank all of those who've gone above and beyond the call of duty to ensure the health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff, and at our campuses in both Ephraim and Ridgefield. Our snow spirit of collaboration and compassion really has been on full display as we continue to work diligently to assist students who've been impacted by our current state of affairs. Secondly, I want to recognize the significant contribution that our faculty and staff have been making in helping us keep our core educational mission intact as much as possible by making the transition to online education, further protecting the well-being of our campus and local communities. So on our campuses, this is of course translates to remote work where possible for faculty and staff, while we'll continue virtually whenever possible. And this new normal, by the time, will include a lot of adjustments, of course, online instruction as well as online support, counseling and advising, takeaway only dining, social distancing throughout the campus facilities. But our collective efforts have helped us respond to COVID-19 challenges as they arise, and we're also mindful that new developments and recommendations are constantly emerging, which is why we've created a central website for the coronavirus updates across a range of relevant topics. So as you know, circumstances change on a continual basis, pretty rapid, and I encourage you to visit the website as often as you can for updates. But although what we're undergoing now is certainly not part of the common Snow College educational experience, it is not entirely unprecedented. And more than 100 years ago, in response to the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, college activities were dramatically modified then too. Snow College has learned that the lessons about dedication and resilience and service. And again, today, this situation teaches us lessons of perseverance, innovation, compassion, and loyalty for our communities, our state, nation, and the world. So with gratitude for all that you're doing and great appreciation for the privilege I have of being a part of the Snow College community, I thank you for your patience and your understanding as we get through this together. And you know, who would have guessed that even just a month ago, if we would have told each other that this is the way that we are going to be doing Snow College business, I think all of us, and including me, say this would have been impossible. It would have been untenable. We couldn't do it. And yet here we are, and we are doing it. And we're not doing it perfectly, and we're not doing it as well as we'd like. But it is, I think, a tribute to the spirit of this place that we can do things sometimes we couldn't imagine. And it's unfortunate, right, that it takes a situation like what we're facing to help us dig deep and be more innovative and creative. We're all doing things that we never thought we really could. And so there is that silver lining, if there is one at all. Well, listen, we've got about 151 attendees so far, so welcome everybody. It's a great morning. It's 65 degrees on campus here in Ephraim, and I'm sure down in Ridgefield it's the same. We're going to be talking a lot about a lot of sobering issues today, but we also want to emphasize some of the good stories, the good news, and we're going to weave in those stories as well because there's there are plenty to talk about. So those that might be new joining us, we have a little bit of a format here that we've adopted that I hope works, and what we've done is actually take me away from being central here and spread it out among colleagues who are smarter and better informed on so many things, so that we can spread out the program, if you want to call it. But as you recall, we have a feature on this system here, the conference system here, that as you have questions, please type in. And what we try to do is answer every question we can. And again, nothing is off the table, and we want to be as open and transparent as we can with bad news and good news. But so what I'd like to do is actually bring our provost, Dr. Steve Hood, up and join me here. I'd say in the studio, but that would be a generous sort of description of what we have in our conference room here in the Noyes building. But can you believe what we're dealing with? I mean, can you imagine we'd be doing this kind of work even a month ago?
No, wouldn't have. We knew it was a worry. We knew it might be something we'd have to deal with, but I'd never imagined in my worst dreams that we'd be trying to deal with this. This has just been incredible. So
well, you and your staff have been terrific.
Thanks.
And you and Associate Provost Jenkins, but the deans and chairs and faculty, they've been working so hard, hours upon hours of making sure that they're getting their students served and making learning again the central feature. And again, emphasizing that it's about learning, not necessarily about teaching that we're about. We hope that good teaching is happening, but we also hope that learning is occurring. And those things are tied together, but they're not essentially the same thing. But anyway, I want to start out with some good news, because you pointed this out yesterday, which I just love. And this was part of our manufacturing technology program, our composites program, that we're actually working together with some health officials in Sevier County in trying to devise some N95 masks. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So some representatives of the emergency medical systems or emergency medical services from Sevier County contacted Colton Ney, one of our professors of manufacturing, and asked if they could help make some masks that people could use, because there is a shortage of N95 masks. So Colton got together, they got a template, they started printing it out on a 3D printer. And then when they got that, they realized we can, after consulting with some other medical professionals in the area, they decided they could make these even faster with a different kind of material. So they put together some forms, some templates of what they would use. And then I don't exactly know how this works. They take these materials, they put them on this template, they put it in a machine that's got a vacuum on it, and the vacuum shrinks the material around the template, and then they have an N95 mask. So they're going to be mass producing them. And this will be a great boon to our medical workers in particular in Sevier. And if we have enough, we can send them to other areas as well. So it's great. It's a program that's relatively new. And as a result, we don't have very many students in it, but this program is able to take these masks now, turn them out on a larger scale, and be able to help out our partners in the Sevier County area.
Anyway, just I think those elements, our campus that really want to weigh in and help our communities out. Whether that's creating N95 masks, which it's a high art actually. It's the technology. What I understand from what 95 means is that it essentially can screen out 95% of almost everything, and down to some incredible kind of micron, microscopic. But there are worries, about whether we have enough masks for health, our health workers. Do we have enough hand sanitizers? And I think to the extent that we can take Snow College Innovation and help our communities, all the better.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the other good news is just what you said, President. I think so many faculty were putting in 50, 60-hour weeks during the last little while, especially during spring break, to try to get things right. And even with that, some of them have only got 2 weeks ready to go, because it's a big leap to try to transition these courses from regular face-to-face courses to remote learning or to online. So grateful to what they're doing. Another little shout out also to the theater department. Professor Love also made masks. They're cloth masks. They according to the CDC, they can filter out 85% of the different viruses and bacteria that's in the air. So we're grateful to her and for her reaching out to staff and so on as they made some of those. So grateful to all these folks.
That is terrific. And what about understanding? We're learning a lot about this disease, but those cloth masks, what we're learning is that they're better than nothing. And again, but it's actually better for protecting others around you. So if you do feel sick or whatever, it keeps kind of germs with in to you. It's less protective from you getting stuff, but anyway, I think that we'll see. There's now I just saw one confirmed case in our central Utah region. We don't know which county that is. They've been keeping that secret, but so far we've been very, very fortunate. What every official is telling us in the state is that we're about 2 weeks in terms of peaking out. My sense, again, I'm not an expert, but I'm guessing that we here in central Utah are probably just a little bit behind that as well, just because I think we lag the metro areas by a week or two is my guess. So it's still, I think we're in it for a little bit longer here. But I think that if we manage this well with social distancing, we're going to be able to, what they call flattening the curve, which will help sort of make sure that when people do get sick, that it isn't swamping, our hospitals in Richfield and hospitals here in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, I think the Utah State Director of Health said it yesterday, or maybe she was the spokesperson, but she said it will come to every single county. It will come to most towns and so on. And so, yeah, we have to take those steps. And so one of the things that we'll do as a result of that is we're going to move summer then to the same kind of format that we're doing now, primarily online courses, so that students will be safer, faculty will be safer, staff will be safer. Even though it doesn't peak and they're predicting until around the 24th or something like that, there's a long trail off. And so they're predicting probably not till mid-July at this point. So we want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to make people as safe as possible.
And given that sort of elongating the trend, there are quite a few questions this morning relative to commencement. And let me just say that, as you know, we postponed the May 2nd commencement, but we've actually put a survey together to put the question out to our graduates. What would they prefer? And some of the options might be, when this is later on in the summer, that we actually, we reconvene, bring them back to campus, and do a regular commencement then. That's one option. Another is actually push it even a little further into, say, around homecoming or even around the end of the first semester. There is an option that students can choose that maybe what they prefer at this point, if it's very difficult for a majority of them to come back, that we do something virtual. So there's a range of options that we've put out to the students, and I would say let our graduates tell us what they prefer. And we want you to check on our website at www.snow.edu/commencement. So if you just type in or did a word search on Snow commencement, that would give you directions to take that survey. Well, we are getting some healthy feedback this morning, and one of the things that has come up really, and I think it's a legitimate concern about pass-fail. Mm-hmm. And this has to do with, I think we were in more than midway past the semester. And so I think both faculty, students, and others, parents are worried that maybe because of this unprecedented experience, would the college consider a pass-fail? And if we do, what does that mean?
Yeah, we started looking at pass-fail options about 2 weeks ago, and then we put together a draft procedure about 10 days ago that we sent to the deans. They approved it, and now it's in the laps of our curriculum committee. Those are faculty that want to make sure that the policies that we incorporate are good for students. So there's a little bit of a challenge with this because, as we mentioned last week when we talked about pass-fail in our town meeting, what is a pass in some courses does not always fit a pass in another course. So for example, in some classes, a D score, a D grade could count as a pass, but a D grade does not count as a pass in some general education courses. So we have to be careful there. You have to have a C minus. In the nursing program, it has to be in the B range for it to be passing. So there will be pass-fail options available for students, but what we are going to do is we want students to realize that before they can change a grade from a letter grade to a pass grade, we want them to have a visit with an academic advisor.
Good advice.
That way the advisor can let them know some of the problems. And here's some of the problems that we're worried about for our students. If you were to transfer to the University of Utah, to Utah State University, those two universities in some programs, some of those programs do not accept pass grades to fulfill requirements in a major. So we want you to make sure that you visit with an advisor so that an advisor can help make sure that there's steps that have been taken for you to find out if that grade can be applied towards a major. In addition to that, at Weber State University, right now they're dealing with the same situation. They may not be accepting any pass-fail grades for any transfer at all. So we're going to allow students to have an option to be able to opt for a pass, but we just want to be really careful that it doesn't harm you as you transfer to one of these institutions. We're not saying we don't want you to transfer to the U, to Utah State, or to Weber State. They're great institutions, they're our sister institutions. We want you to be able to do that. We just want you to make sure that you know what the implications are in the event that you do change. So you will visit with an advisor, either online, by telephone, and then you will make a decision, and you'll have up to a month to be able to make that decision. Your instructor will still issue a letter grade at the end of the semester, and then you have a month until the first week of June to determine whether or not you want to convert that grade. We don't have all of the details just yet because, as I said, we want our curriculum committee, all the faculty members that represent different departments, to be able to say what they know may hurt or may benefit a student. So they're looking at that now. But as soon as we have that procedure, and I think we'll have it in the next 2 days, we're going to get that out there so that everybody can see what that'll be.
Terrific. Great. Well, I think having maximum options for our students to determine that, I think, is very student friendly. There has been a petition going around, but this is actually a statewide one, and each campus is getting a petition from students to talk about this or have the institutions be sensitized to this. And I think this is a really good response to this petition that's going about. And so I really appreciate the academic leadership putting students first here, but also giving them the option, because in some cases, if a student should be able to choose a grade if they really feel it's in the best interest to keep a grade for graduate programs and that sort of thing. My guess is, though, is that graduate programs and others other entities that we look at students' transcripts, there'll be a great big asterisk on spring of 2020 because of the unprecedented, unusual circumstances. So my guess is there's going to be a lot of leeway, but this is I think great news when it comes to that pass-fail.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, another thing that we might another thing that we're hearing about on petitions is reduction of tuition costs, and we're not able to do that, not because we are trying to be sticks in the mud. This has implications to federal aid that comes in. We can't refund money to students that has anything to do with tuition. It has implications on scholarships, but it also has implications in regards to credit that you are receiving for courses. Even though the delivery system has changed drastically for a majority of your courses. What has to happen is that we still have to do evaluation of your coursework. We still have to make sure that you're learning as much as you can. And we realize that this has been a different turn. People still have to be paid at the college. People still have to make sure that your grades are posted and that the credit that you're getting for your courses is posted. So for that reason, we can't do that. In addition, we receive so much money from the legislature as it is to help subsidize us. We can't get a reversal and give money back on tuition and be able financially to rely more to fill that gap from the legislature, because that wouldn't be fair to the people, the taxpayers of the state of Utah as well. So it's an unfortunate situation. We do feel, disappointed also that we've had to change so many of our delivery options, but we're trying to do the best we can, and we think that there's goodwill out there. Most students, we think, also understand that we're doing the best that we can right now.
There was a follow-up question on pass-fail relative to concurrent enrollment. What's our position on concurrent enrollment pass-fail?
Yeah, we had a meeting statewide on this yesterday. Most school districts right now on concurrent enrollment are willing to take the pass-fail grades. However, they also note that there are some institutions in the state that aren't real willing to accept the pass-fail, grade. We're working that out with each individual school district. You can take a pass-fail if you're a concurrent enrollment student, but again, what we're going to still ask you to do is still contact an advisor, and then also to talk to your counselors at your schools, because the counselors realize that this is a problem if you're going to be transferring to some other institution other than Snow or Dixie or UVU.
Good point. There's a question about with the library being closed, and there are some students still on campus. By the way, we really encourage students to go home where they can, but in some cases students can't. And by the way, I really appreciate the students weighing in on this forum this morning. We really care about your learning. We care about your situation. So thanks. Keep those questions coming. But with the library closed, there are some that have asked how they might be able to get some prints. So if they're printing out a paper and they would rather have a hard copy, what kind of services do we have?
So the main doors to the library are still open. You can go in there and you can use the internet. You can sit in the soft chairs and the little tables that are there to still study on. But you're right, the cage door, which is a roller door, is down for access to the rest of the library. Most of your professors are taking paper assignments or taking writing assignments by electronic means, so you're not in trouble there. But if you're like me and you like to work through paper copies after you've worked on it online, you can still call the library at 7365, and a library worker will come and will allow you to be able to come in and have access to the library to be able to print this out. The other thing you might do is you might share. Some of you, if you know somebody who's still around on campus and has a printer, you might try that as well. But for all services that are in the library, in terms of help desk, in terms of the Teaching and Technology Center, trying to find some materials that you might need for a research paper, so on, you can call 7365, make an appointment at the library, and they can let you in. This is also true of the Ephraim City Library. The Ephraim City Library is open for making copies as well, but you'll need to knock on the door and they will come and let you in one at a time to be able to make copies and so on.
I actually understand, I think, the desire to have a hard copy. I mean, it's hard to change.
It is.
And an old dog like me, I've had to sort of be better at being able to do editing and everything kind of on screen and online. And so I really encourage students and others that have felt really tied to a hard copy print. Let me challenge you to try and reach beyond that. I know it's not easy. I'm with you in that line of those that are fans of holding something in your hand and the markups. But let's try and be take advantage of the technology that we actually have, and let's also save some trees in the meantime if we can. But also it would further protect us. One of the questions that that has come up is that whether students that are here still contact faculty and have face-to-face meetings. We've really discouraged that. But what would you say to students who want a face-to-face and
Yeah, if at all possible, Skype them, talk to them on the phone. Your professor might be able to set up a Zoom meeting with you, or a Big Blue Button meeting just with you, and so on, and set up virtual study groups. Students can certainly do that as well. You can go onto your Canvas page and you can set up virtual study groups as well on Big Blue Button and use it yourselves. But we want to make sure that we keep people safe. In some cases, a professor may be willing to do that. We just hope that we don't put each other in a situation where they feel like they ought to accommodate a meeting that they might feel uncomfortable with. So that's something that we should mention. I should mention one other thing, President, going back to the library. The Richfield Library is still open,
right? Correct.
Because there are proprietary materials that have to be used for some of the shop classes that can only be viewed there. And so that's 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. And the Richfield Testing Center is still open as well. And all these services, if you check on our webpage, the COVID webpage and so on, the COVID tab there, you can find out all of our services that are open.
That's terrific. There was a question about most students have moved home. They're trying to get jobs. They're trying to they're not available, say, for certain lecture times that might be, because they're trying to adjust now not being here on campus. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, unfortunately, for some of these student jobs, they can't be accommodated, and we feel terrible about that. Some student jobs can be done at home remotely. Some students do, as there are some offices that still do have students doing what we consider to be essential jobs, where they are doing things that are absolutely essential for the college to be able to keep running. But unfortunately, if you have a class time or some other things where they want you to work and so on, and in some offices, in my office, I know we had to tell our students that we weren't comfortable with them coming in to work. So we feel like that it was best for them if they stay home. And your offices may be contacting you to do that as well. That sometimes it just doesn't work out. So we apologize for that. It's a very tenuous situation, and we do what we can, but in some cases there won't be jobs available for everybody as we've had them in the past.
It looks like we actually have someone who is challenging us on the cloth masks, and so we're committed to truth. We're committed to accuracy. So if that person could write in terms of what is incorrect, we want to correct whatever is incorrect there. Also, there's quite a bit of literature on this on the web as I've looked at this, and so anyway, if there's if that person would be willing to just point out, then we can make sure that
yeah, we just went by what the CDC mentioned yesterday about cloth masks and what the Utah Department of Health mentioned. So
yeah. Hey, will advisors who advise on pass-fail, are we going to do training with our advisors there?
We will. As soon as we have this procedure out, they will have a whole month to get boned up on it, because students will not be making decisions on pass-fail until after the grades have been submitted by the faculty members. So they'll have a month to get boned up on how to do this. And to make sure that they know how this is going to be. It's already written out. It's pretty simple. In fact, one of the other Utah System of Higher Education schools yesterday in our meeting wanted to borrow ours because they did like how simple it was, but at the same time it gave students lots of information about the pros and cons of going to a pass grade instead of a letter grade. So we'll like I said, I think probably by closing time on Thursday, we will have heard back from everybody from curriculum committee, and we'll have that procedure ready to publish.
The other question is, how do I do research for my research paper if libraries are closed? Again, I think this taps into another way to think about sources. And but anyway, what would you say to this question?
Yeah, so if you go to the library website, they have a nice page there. It tells you, gives you ideas about how you can do research. Some of that research is available through open access, and in fact, I had a research project here that I was doing just a couple of weeks ago. What I was so surprised about was the amount of materials that our library catalog lists that you can click and will come up in PDF form or will come up in another form. If you can only find information that's available in a fixed journal or a physical copy that's in a book, again, you can call 7365 and the library will be able to open up for you to be able to help you with that task. They're not wanting to say you can't use it. That's our academic temple. We want you to use it. But so many of the materials already that the library has, both for our Richfield system and Ephraim system are combined. The largest number of materials that are available electronically already. So that should help out tremendously.
I'm sort of working on a paper now, and I am really amazed at what's available just online. And so part of it is, I think, knowing how to access these scholarly materials. But there is a link on the library page in orange that will help on that question. Well, Provost Hood, you are amazing. Thank you so much. As questions come in that relate to our academic enterprise, let me bring you back. So stick around.
Thanks, President.
In the meantime, let's have Josh Hales, our Director of HR. Thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
President.
Just remember that to stay home, but where you can, check our website often for updates. There's a survey for our graduates that we want to remind you to complete so that we can make sure that we are meeting your commencement needs as best we can. Good morning, Josh. How are you?
Doing great, thanks.
Never thought we'd be sort of a TV host of some sort, but
hey, I might be seeking other employment soon if this keeps working out.
No. But what we do need, your job next time is for the jokes. We need more sort of, entertainment value.
Okay, I'll work
on that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions is that I've been interested in having you talk about is a recent policy that called the Family First Coronavirus Response Act.
Yes.
Now, this is a federal act that came out, but that actually prompted a need for us to put in immediately April 1st, because the federal government is putting this in place. And the subject of policy is emergency paid sick leave and FMLA, which is Family Medical Leave Act, right? This is a public health emergency leave policy.
Right.
Tell us, that was a lot. That's a word salad right there. But what does this policy in effect mean for us?
Yeah, good question. And I will say we are going to send out the policy to everybody later today. And the policy, it does take probably a few times reading through to kind of wrap your brain around it. But essentially, what the act requires us to do is offer two types of leave for both full-time and part-time employees. The first leave, we're calling it the emergency paid sick leave, and that leave is on top of whatever employees already get for sick leave, and it's an additional 2 weeks of leave that can be used for COVID-related reasons. And so, the law kind of specifies what those things are. So, if we had a shelter in place, for example, or if someone is experiencing COVID symptoms or has been advised by the health department to self-isolate, those are some of the reasons that the people could tap into this leave. And so again, that's 2 weeks of paid leave for that. And then the family medical leave part of it basically grants 12 weeks of leave. The first 2 weeks are unpaid, but they can use the emergency paid sick leave to cover those 2 weeks or whatever other leave that the employee has. And then the other 10 weeks are paid at 2/3 of the employee's normal rate. So again, both of these leaves are for both full-time and part-time employees, and are in addition to whatever leave is otherwise available to the employee.
Now, this policy can also right now be found on the web.
That's right.
And do you think we ought to send this just generally to the faculty and staff, just so that they have it? So you can, you might want to just check that in terms of what you're eligible for. I think it's intended to really protect employees and during this very kind of unprecedented time.
Yeah.
Some may wonder, well, how did that policy get passed so quickly? Do you want to tell us how, in cases like this, we actually have a policy that guides us on this? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. So the Board of Trustees recently approved a policy that allows us to pass what we call emergency interim policies. And so those policies are temporary in nature, and basically the purpose of that process is for situations exactly like this. Now, when we asked the trustees to pass this policy, we never dreamed that we would be using it so quickly. But yeah, we do have in policy a process for allowing us to kind of do some of these emergency measures. And again, it's only for temporary policies. We can't just say, oh, we're going to pass whatever we want now. But as part of the process as well, we did also notify the College Council and Board of Trustees yesterday that we were doing this. So.
And this is for just temporary. So we are required to sort of notify the campus, notify the College Council, which is really our policy kind of advisory board and approval board, the Board of Trustees. And if it's going to stay longer than, I think, is it 1 year, maybe, we then have to put it through the whole process. So in other words, so this isn't something that is intended to last forever without it going through all of the approvals. But I do think you'll find, the fact you'll find this one to be really important in trying for us to respond to the federal guidelines as it relates to the emergency paid leave.
That's right.
Well, good. So one question is, why are there so many people parking here? Why are people still having? Why do we still have a lot of people working?
Yeah.
And why aren't they staying home and heeding the directive of staying home? Yeah.
Well, first off, I would say a lot of employees are. I was here on Monday, and the building. It kind of feels like a ghost town for those of us who are on campus. Secondly, there are just some employees that their work is just not fully conducive to working online, or they needed just a couple days to kind of wrap things up in the office so they can do the rest of their work remotely. So I do expect the number to continue to drop. But also recognize, some of our employees just don't have that option. So we are encouraging everyone who can to do that. I worked from home yesterday, and it's, sometimes I think employees are distracting, but turns out my 4 kids are even more distracting. But it's just one of the things that we do to to slow the spread, flatten the curve. And so really we continue to encourage every employee, to the extent you can work from home, please do so. And for myself, as soon as we're done here, I'll go home and work the rest of the day from home as well.
And also, if we are working from home, remember, and Mr. Paul too would be very proud of us to sort of have this public reminder that practice safe cyber usage. There really are bad actors that are out there that want to take advantage of people who this may be a new way of working. And so our information security team has given us some training, right? Make sure that everybody is responding to those training. They're not long, less than like 3 or 4 minutes, but it just reminds us of what's out there that can really kind of save your personal information, but also college information and other things. So anyway, make sure that those that are out there are working at home, make sure you're doing that safely. A follow-up question to this new policy is that would mental health challenges qualify for this leave, if approved by a mental health specialist?
It won't qualify for this leave in the new policy, but sick leave, the normal sick leave does qualify for mental health concerns. So the law is fairly specific on what counts for this emergency paid sick leave, and it's 6 reasons that are outlined in the policy. But if you do have some mental health concerns, by all means, use your sick leave. Again, we'll remind you that employees that are covered by PEHP have access to the Blomquist Hill Employee Assistance Program. Highly recommend people take advantage of that service as well. That provides free counseling for different mental health concerns. So yeah, we do have plenty of resources for mental health. It's just not covered by the new policy we're talking about today.
Another follow-up question about a faculty member or a staff member sent an email saying that they're welcome to work in their office. This seems to be counter to what we are saying, and I think that's a good question, but let's clarify. We're not encouraging people to work here. If you have to have access to your office, then, and as long as you're practicing safe kind of social distancing, then you can. But we are strongly encouraging people who can work from home to do so. And this next couple of weeks, I understand, is a critical moment in the trajectory of this virus, from what I understand. That it's when it comes to peaking, it's going to peak in a couple of weeks, they're telling us, which means right now. And that we want to make sure we're particularly protected. And because if we end up getting sick during the peak time, that's the last thing anybody wants for you or for our system, medical system. So anyway, you can have access to your office if you need to, but we would say stay away if you can.
Right, and I would add to that, even to the extent you do need access to your office, come in for whatever you need, and then go home. There was a faculty member that reached out to me. I had concerns about their internet bandwidth at home as far as broadcasting a class, and my response was, well, okay, come in, broadcast your class, and then go home and do your grading and everything else you need to do. So
remember, hand sanitizers, wash your hands. It turns out that is one of the best defenses, and so taking that seriously. Again, also some real distressing things to see where teenagers, younger people, just don't see themselves as being vulnerable here. But I read something really interesting that if it was the young that was most vulnerable, parents and grandparents would do everything they could to prevent this. And so if the roles were reversed, make sure that young people out there, that you are really protecting your loved ones who may be vulnerable. How long do you think we ought to be planning on to work from home? This is an interesting, it's conjecture, speculation, depending on what the virus ends up doing. But let's just mull that over a bit.
Yeah, well, as you've mentioned, we're looking at peaking probably in 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean we're done in 2 weeks. That just means we're going to hit the peak and we're still going to be going down. So, I've kind of mentally prepared myself for at least the rest of the semester, probably into the summer, continuing to work from home. Some of the things I've heard is, we're probably not kind of out of the woods till maybe July or later.
Yeah.
So, and again, to the extent you can continue to work from home, I think we want to keep that going until we're pretty well out of the woods.
Which does mean that summer school, we'll be doing summer school like we are doing now.
Mhm.
So we don't anticipate any face-to-face classes being available, but we'll continue to send updates, especially as it relates to how long we should work from home. We're kind of taking this a week or two at a time.
Yep.
To see how the rest of the country is dealing with it. Utah is a bit behind, thankfully, and I think central Utah is a bit even behind the Utah curve, which may mean we're going to be sort of spread out a little bit more than in some cases.
Yeah.
A follow-up, I guess, on the fabric masks. I guess what we can suggest is that there's a video from the Utah Department of Health that will, I think, probably be the better authority than I am on this. But so before we start making masks, cloth masks, let's just check our facts there. But
yeah.
Well, thank you, Josh. You guys are doing terrific. Please pass on my sincere thanks to your staff and faculty, staff, that work for and with you. They're working very hard. Oh, it looks like we've got a follow-up, last one follow-up question about what's the new normal for college after this? Will there be more online cover, face-to-face, or IBC come fall? Let me try to take a stab at that, and then maybe you can kind of fill that in. We can bring the provost back too. We are working very hard, not only to sort of deal with the short term with the rest of the semester in helping faculty to get up to speed to finish out the learning this semester. In the meantime, there's sort of a medium to long-term strategy that we're working on that will have more online available, where it will have faculty have much more time to put these courses together in a way that is that's going to be sort of best practice. But our sense is that once this is over, whenever that might be, we want to have people going to come. We want people to come back. Right? There's something special about a face-to-face experience at Snow College. It's not just about getting an education, which is first rate here, number one in the nation. You might recall Josh Hales, number one in the nation for our category. But there is something that is special about the experience, the social experience coming to Snow College, the maturation, the coming of age experience. And so we really hope that we can get back to normal. Now, not everybody can take advantage of a face-to-face. We know that, and we need to provide more opportunities for the types of learners that can't move to Richfield or can't move to Ephraim. These are non-traditional students. These are stay-at-home parents. These are professionals that might be place-bound or time-bound, and that the only way that they're going to get a Snow College education is through technology. We want to make sure that we're finding ways to do that, and we hope that by summer and no later than fall, we will have a very much broader sort of offering of online course options, which we think will just help supplement the other types of things that we're doing. So anyway, your sense about IBC, about online, about face-to-face?
Yeah, I think you hit pretty well. I think what our plans are and what our discussions have been. I would just add, my experience in corporate America, I think really shows the need for both types of what we do. I've worked a lot on remote teams and really had to kind of work through, what our students are working through now. How do I work maybe without people there watching me get the work done and still kind of set my schedule and get it done and collaborate remotely. But I've also seen the importance of that face-to-face meeting, and I think going forward, Snow College, we're going to be probably better equipped to help students with both of those types of collaboration.
Yeah, great. Well, let's see. We've got a question about we don't have work for some of our part-time hourly. Tell us a couple of things that we're thinking about this.
Yeah. So first off, if you do run out of work for your employees, please contact Linda Llewellyn. She's acting as our work clearinghouse. So as I've mentioned before, some departments have really slowed down to a crawl. Other departments have more work than ever. And so we really want to try to balance that workload. There is work for people, and we want to keep people busy and working, and not just for finances, but also so people don't get stir crazy. But I would also add, we've gotten some questions about, well, yeah, I have work for people, but they can't really do it online. And I would really challenge managers to really take a second look at that and really try to be creative. Any office work really should have the capability of being done online. So whether we need to scan documents on a shared drive, give people VPNs, laptops, I think with some creativity, most of our office work, if not all of it, can be done online. So I would I guess answer with both of those things. First off, really try to be creative to find that remote work. But then once we've run out of that work, contact Linda and we'll find something else for those people to do.
Well, stay with me here. We actually are going to try a little bit of a technological sort of spin here in broadening our aperture. We actually have a beloved colleague in Layton, where she's working up there, and we have her on live, and we want to have Terry Clausen join us from Layton. How are you, Terry?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Terrific. How's we don't know what it's like to be on the recipient end, right, of this. So is it as bad as we think it might be?
No, you guys are doing awesome.
Okay. Well, you're being overly generous, but well, there's a question about, people are a little bit worried about, what happens in the fall with enrollment. Of course, enrollment has financial implications. And I think there's, it is okay to be able to say, in many cases, we don't know. And in a lot of these questions, that is truth. We don't know. One of the questions here, will telework be allowed after the virus is over? I think so many aspects of our life will be different than they were a couple of months ago. And I just don't know what life will be like after this. It will be different. In what ways, I'm not sure. But here's what I don't hope. And that I don't hope that we essentially end up social isolating ourselves. That becomes the new normal. Right? We're doing it now out of safety, physical safety. But it's not helping us psychologically, and it's not helping us emotionally. And I think that's one of the things about, having a workplace you can come to, associate with colleagues, have a face-to-face service with students. There's something powerful about that, to be able to have a human interaction. So will people continue to telework from home after this? My answer is I don't know. My sense is to the extent that we can resume normal activities, especially when it comes to servicing students, we ought to. If it's something that fully can be done without any impact to work, then we may want to consider it. If it saves on commute times and that sort of thing, I think we'd be open to that. But I think right now it's too early to say. Yeah. But back to Terry. So Terry, tell us a little bit about your thoughts about fall enrollment. This has changed a lot of our strategic enrollment management plan. Tell us why that has changed, and what are our plans moving forward?
Absolutely. So it's been a really interesting time. I'm not going to lie. We were doing fantastically well, and I have to really give kudos and a shout out to the entire enrollment team, from admissions, financial aid, scholarships, registrar, and all of the work that they've done, and our advisors as well in getting students registered. We were sitting really pretty to have a significant growth this fall. But with this pandemic across the nation, it has been really apparent that we just don't know yet what we don't know. We don't have any projection models as to how this is going to impact enrollment. I talked to colleagues around the state, and everyone is just kind of in this status of we just don't know what our fall is going to look like. That being said, though, we're very, very committed with our enrollment team to do whatever is possible so that we have good enrollment this fall. We have some new technologies in place that will allow us to work with students face-to-face. That's something that we miss. We pride ourselves here at Snow College of having that really personalized touch, but our advisors can't even be in the schools right now, and we miss that. And so we have those technologies in place so that we can do as much as possible to continue that one-on-one touch. And we're going to wait and see what happens. We're doing everything possible that we can to make sure that we are helping enrollment for this fall, and we cross our fingers that this is actually going to pan out. I don't know that we'll see the growth that we were hoping to see, though.
Yeah. Well, what do you say to others to say, how do we, now that there are a lot of missionaries coming back home from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a lot of these missionaries are going to want to continue their education or start their education, even say before fall. What do we say to them, and actually how might we as a campus community reach out and help those returned missionaries consider Snow College as a viable option?
Absolutely. So we really want to encourage these returned missionaries to consider Snow. So for those of you that know of students that are coming home in your social network, talk to them about the advantages of Snow. We're #1 in student success, and we're extremely affordable, and we offer a real true collegiate experience. Our hope is that by fall, we have on-campus classes, and so we want to really encourage these individuals coming home that we offer them that. They've experienced, this independence, and we don't want them to just feel as though they're stuck at home and can't progress. So we're encouraging them that way. The admissions office has worked really hard with some of our IT folks to pull lists of all of our deferred students, especially with the new announcement that came out yesterday about some different options for missionaries coming home. We want to communicate to these individuals that Snow College is an option for them. And so we're going to be doing some campaigns. We've got some of our admissions advisors working on that right now to reach out to these individuals. But as far as a campus community as a whole, I would say talk to your social networks, talk to your family, your friends, and see what we can do to encourage these students to choose Snow.
Well, just just a word about, we're really working hard and doubling our efforts to actually get Snow Online up and going for summer, right? So we have courses. We'll have about 20 courses in place, ready so that students can complete their general education certificate, and hopefully by fall we'll have more classes available, and really by in about a year we'll have enough courses where students could do a Snow Online competency-based degree from Snow College, which we really think is going to be a terrific service for those who might not be able to come to campus. Because when we think about summer enrollment, it's really going to be online. And with this new Snow Online with a competency-based option, that really is self-paced. It has a lot of advantages. And just remind people, and I know we're speaking to the choir here, and these are internal audiences here, but when you speak to your friends, you speak to your network, you speak to returned missionaries coming back, you realize that a student can come to Snow College and pay tuition, and even with our housing, can come and pay full tuition, full fees, and housing, and still be cheaper than just going to Utah Valley University for their tuition. In other words, that's what kind of value we have here. And in times when the economy is like it is, Families are very conscious about cost. There is no better option in this state and then Snow College when it comes to value and when it comes to quality of education. And people may not know that, right? That when you talk to your niece or your nephew, saying, listen, you're not only going to get a first-rate education, but you're going to do it in ways that isn't going to tax your checkbook or put you in debt. Really, really important to emphasize. I would also emphasize that listen, we all have social media, and I've been really interested in doing this as the president. And if I can do it, everybody can, believe me. But to the extent that you can sort of pump out, right, these good stories of Snow College, emphasizing Snow College, this really is not just, I think, the purview of our social media groups, but our departments and even individuals. If you have something good to say about Snow College, do it and get it out there on Facebook and Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I try to push out at least one social media message a day on all 4 of those platforms. And I know that we actually have a part of our marketing efforts trying to do the same. But can you imagine if we just had 200 or 300 of you that made a commitment to do it once a week, a couple times a week, just saying, here's what I love about Snow College. Here's the website. Why don't you check it out as an option? Especially when you've got some downtime, and maybe a lot of you are on technology. Promote for us, because I think that will make a big difference. Again, Snow College is one of the state's great secrets, and that is a shame. Snow College should not be a secret in terms of its quality, and especially in terms of its affordability. And this really is a terrific option for many students. And I'm a product of Snow College, and I can testify really to the value of Snow College education and what it's done. Well, enough promotion, but we're all in this business. So anything else you want us to know, Terry, as it relates to enrollment next fall?
No, I'll just echo what you said. I really think that at this time, because we're safe at home, we're not necessarily stuck at home, but this is a great opportunity for everyone to promote Snow College, and everybody has the recruitment job. I talk about this when we talk about SIM. Anything, we wear our Snow College gear out in public, but it's something that we all do. And it makes a difference. And I think that, if you can publish something on your social media, if you can talk to your niece or nephew and let them know about the value, we're going to have a really positive impact in this really uncertain time.
And if you didn't know a return missionary,
yes, if you know a return missionary,
college is really the best. It's the best option for them.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's the best option for most everybody, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Josh. Well, thanks so much. Well, we've got some other questions that we need to get to. So one question, well, Josh, I've got you, is one of the questions: are students' jobs over?
Not necessarily. Again, a lot of student jobs can be done remotely, especially, our TAs and our tutors. A lot of that, my TA, always kind of did his remote work remotely anyways. And so again, a lot of that work can continue, especially now that a lot more stuff is up on Canvas. Our tutoring centers are offering online support, so all of those student employees should still have work. And then, there are still some essential services that we still need our students working. So, public safety hires a bunch of students to go around and make sure our buildings are secure. That work still needs to happen. And so any student that's listening and worrying about their job, talk to your supervisor. Any supervisors that don't know what to do with their students, give me a call and we'll get it worked out.
And what about Linda?
Yes, and Linda, there was a question, how do we get a hold of Linda? So her extension is 7043, and then also her email is linda.llewellyn@snow.edu. And in the email message that goes out today, we'll include that as well.
Question on whether one can use sick leave for an employee in order to be home with school-aged kids. You know, given the K-12 system has been really they're actually online until the rest of their year. With the state closure there, what would you say? Can they use sick leave or family medical leave or any of those other options that they have?
Yeah, they can. I would also encourage them though, before you just take sick leave and just check out, work with your manager. You know, in some cases, you know, maybe we work out something where it's, you know, where you can telework and we just are flexible with your schedule and know you're probably not going to get all your work done maybe in the 8 to 5, but in other cases, you know, maybe it's part-time telework, part-time using sick leave. But I would really encourage employees, you know, don't just kind of throw your hands up and say, well, I can't work now, so I'm going to use up all my sick leave. But really try to work with your manager and try to find some different options. But this emergency sick leave policy, it does address school closures specifically. So,
right. There's a question here about redeploying student workers, and I think what we were talking about redeployment was really during spring break, where people were here or in the short term. The question is, you know, are we redeploying students, and if so, in what way? And you know, are we at all in a way?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, we're not able to redeploy student workers. So when we talk about redeployment, we're really referring to our full-time and our part-time employees.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Josh, thank you so much for giving us your insight and advice, and appreciate you. I might bring you back if we have questions related to HR.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Well, we need to bring back a crowd favorite, Carson Howell. Carson has decided that the way he is going to fight the COVID-19 virus is the same way I'm going to fight it, and that is I'm letting the beard do some of that initial work as a screen, right? So maybe as its own filter. I don't know.
I'm isolating from my razor.
For your ice? Okay, you're giving it a break a little bit.
That's right.
You never know what those razors can give you, you know?
Exactly.
I don't know. So listen, we've got quite a few questions that have kind of built up as it relates to your area. One question is, do we have a plan in place to use ACOR or the AC? sorry, Marcy. Do we have a plan in place to use the activity center? I thought ACOR was maybe a software. Who knows? I don't, to use the activity center or other spaces if there's a local pandemic. Now, so one of the questions is, you know, is there, you know, if hospitals overflow, have we been called on? I've got a little insight on that, but
yeah. So I think going back to the example that you and Provost Hood were talking about at the very beginning, with creating the N95 masks and healthcare providers or healthcare workers reaching out to us to see if there's a solution there. I think that we will continue to be good partners with the healthcare providers. There is the Emergency Operations Center, which has been established to look at a lot of these things and to develop plans for that. So, well, I don't think that we haven't been called on yet to prepare a space to do that. I think that we're going to be good partners with the healthcare industry and the providers around here.
You know, I actually serve on the IHC local board here, and there was a question at one of our board meetings about what happens when they run out of beds, because it's probably going to happen, and they have plans in place for that, with especially spaces that are around the Mount Pleasant Hospital, Gunnison, Nephi. They're going to probably, because you need to be close enough to where the health care workers are going to be. so healthcare workers can do more if there's really more of a proximity. So there may be some usage of space around those facilities, whether they're some hospitals or schools. I don't think Snow College will be drawn. I think we're just too far away from the health officials, but we will be a good partner. I mean, if that is the case, we want to make sure that we're doing what we can. What is the plan if, let's say, a student, because we do have some students, not many students, that are still on our campus in housing. What if a student gets a virus? And this is a scenario that we thought about, of course, in our emergency operation meetings, that we were meeting twice a day. We were meeting at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day. That now then it went to once a day. And I think we've got things, I think, in a situation where we'll just meet, several times a week. But so what would you tell our audience about, let's say a student gets infected? What do we do about quarantining? What are our plans here?
So we do have plans in place to do that. There are housing facilities around here in working with housing to be able to quarantine a student and ensure that even if it was multiple students, that we would have space available to quarantine those students, whether those are cooking units that then they could prepare their food, or a way for us to get food to them. So that plan is in place. There is, again, working with that emergency operations group. We've talked about that. We do have a plan in place if there's a student who comes down with the virus.
Our sense is that what happens if a student does come down with it, and let's say their families are in the state, we would coordinate with the health officials locally in terms of safe ways to transport those students back home with their families first. But in some cases, some students may not live, their homes may not be in Utah, which means that we need to have space here that we can keep them safe. We can keep an eye on them virtually and through phone and text, and then make sure that their needs are being met for food or anything else that they might need. So we would essentially have space we've identified space in our housing units that we could deploy if necessary. But good, this is one of those questions that we wrestle with in those meetings, and I think it's a more likelihood that it'll happen than not.
But President, I think that's also an important reason why the direction that it's gone out, or the recommendation that's gone out from administration, is if you can go home, if you're a student and you can go home, we encourage you to go home. For those who are still in the residence halls, contact your RA, contact housing. We are encouraging students to go home. That's the best place for them to be, if they have those means to do so.
And we're refunding $175 off of their housing deposit, and they get their housing deposit back.
Correct.
And $175 if that's their choice, right?
Right. Correct.
Okay. A question about getting back at the activity center. Will it be closed all summer for renovations?
There are major renovations going on in the activity center, and so unfortunately it is closed all summer. However, with the virus and the closing of the facilities on campus, it's allowed us to speed up those construction projects, those renovation projects. So while it will be closed all summer, we should be ready to go with those renovations completed well before the fall semester.
So what are we doing up there? What can students expect when they come back? How will the AC be different?
So there is a new basketball floor, a new gym floor that's going in there. The bleachers are also getting renovated. There's talk about looking into the pool area as well. So there's some major renovations there, but it'll be a cleaner, nicer, newer facility, I think, when students.
So no one should really plan on any access to that for the summer.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Good. There was a question about scanners,
Mhm.
and could employees check out scanners?
So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of scanners to check out like we do laptops, but there are tools online that you can download even from your phone. Not to try and sound like a commercial, but Microsoft has a product, Office Lens, which I use. It allows you to take a photo and create a PDF. And so if you do need a scanner like that, you can use your phone and use a PDF maker type of software from your phone to be able to send that in. That's what we would encourage people to do. Those are free, and that allows us to still be able to do that work without purchasing a bunch of equipment that then we can check out.
So I understand that on the iPhone, if you have an iPhone, there's a feature in Notes that will scan documents too.
Yep.
I've never used it, but I understand that's a possibility. Do we also want to talk about, is the Bergeson Center closed too? This is the fitness center.
Yes, so the Bergeson Center is closed. Again, we would just encourage everybody to go to the website there on the snow.edu coronavirus. There's a link there for campus closure, and it tells you building by building, by the different services, what are closed, what are open, what are virtual, and any notes there. Call this number for an appointment if you need to get in. But yeah, you can see all of the campus closures and the situation of building by building on that site.
Good. I want to point out we've been doing this for over an hour now, and we haven't lost a whole lot of people. So we hope this has been useful. This continues to be useful. We still do have about 20 more minutes before we really probably have a hard stop with other things that we've got to do. But thank you for staying with us, and keep those questions going while we have time. I would be interested again in our audience that if this is something useful, we plan on doing this once a week, unless you feel that the website is sufficient, whether communication is sufficient. But we feel this is this is important. Given the fact the number of attendees that are on here, virtual attendees, we think that this may we should do this more often. And maybe this is one of those things that we do post-virus. Who knows? As long as it's helping and keeping people in the loop. Let's see, a few more questions. Again, thank you to Marcy and our IT staff for being so supportive. What they actually do, just for the use at home, and you wonder why Carson and I are gazing off into the east here. It's not that we're losing attention. Marcy's actually taking these questions and putting them on the board in categories, right? So that as they relate to academic affairs, or they relate to HR, or relate to finance administration, she's putting those. So thank you so much, Marcy, for being so good at what you do. Well, Carson, any other last thoughts before we I think we need to bring the provost back on for some other academic questions, but what, any other insights? You encourage people not to lick door handles? Is that one of the things that you might recommend?
That's not a proper way to clean them.
Don't clean them that way.
I feel like it's a little Bob Barker-esque to be asking people, don't forget to wash your hands. And,
yeah, it seems like we shouldn't have to do that, but just we do.
Practice those safe hygiene procedures.
So let us know how we know we can better communicate to all you out there. Again, those students take the commencement survey. Check the websites often for updates. Stay home and be safe. If I could bring Dr. Hood back for a second as we kind of wrap up the question, some questions here. And while he's adjusting there, the question that I want to reemphasize is that commencement isn't being canceled. It's being postponed. And as those that might have come in late on that question, we've actually put together a survey for our graduates to complete as to what they would prefer, whether we postpone it until the end of summer, or we should postpone it until some other later date, or whether we ought to do a virtual commencement. So we're going to wait to see. We'll have the students have the last word on that. So welcome back.
Thanks.
I was getting separation anxiety, and now that you're back, I'm feeling a little better. Let's see. So one student actually seemed to feel that the campus could be doing more in being considerate for their situation, and I want to make sure that we're addressing this. That if the campus is doing really all it can in terms of meeting its obligations for the learning that we have promised to deliver. But we also want to be very sensitive to people's family situations and their personal situations with the anxiety that might be involved. And so are there ways that we ought to be considering, are there ways in which we could be more considerate for the situation? It seems like the pass-fail is one of those gestures that we're really trying to make sure the students have a lot of options there to to take into account this weird semester.
Yeah, one of the things that sometimes students need somebody who can be an advocate, who can they can talk to, that can help them through some things. We had one student that wrote in that this person has had to go home to work to help support the family as a result of this, that they're falling behind in their courses. And I would like to reach out to this student and say, get a hold of me. I want to be able to help you as much as I can. And my email is steve.hood, Hood, @snow.edu. That's steve.hood@snow.edu. And I want to reach out to your professors and to help them understand some of the situations that maybe you're under. And I know that there's still a little bit of concern about this pass-fail situation. It's true that a lot of institutions, or that several institutions in the state, are allowing students to change over to pass-fail now. We don't think that's the best option for a student. We want you to see what your letter grade would be first before you take that option. And then once you have that letter grade, you have a whole month to be able to decide whether or not you want to change the pass-fail option. The reason why is because Utah State University said that one of the things that they have noticed as they have worked with students on pass-fail is that students take the pass option in some other classes that they have. And then the student ends up getting a B grade. And they realized, gosh, if I hadn't have opted for the pass, I could have got a B.
Right.
So we're going to allow you to see what your grades are going to be first before you are forced with making that decision. So that, coupled with any of the problems that you might be having, get a hold of me. I want to be able to help you out. I can contact people independently, keep confidences. Don't want to have to share your family situation on things. Just say there's a concern here. Can we help this particular student? And faculty members bend over backwards to be able to do that. Now, there might be some situations where faculty can't change. If enough of a course has not been completed, or if there's failing grades that are on certain things, there's certain things that they cannot change, but they are willing to reach out. So contact me. I'll help get in touch with faculty members if you need a go-between.
Yeah, that's the spirit of Snow right there. A question about, is this the new normal for Snow? Online, IVC, what'd you say?
We want to get back to face-to-face. That's what we want to do. Now, to be completely honest, though, Snow has been working now for almost a year since President Cook has been here to implement more online options for students. But those are options. Those aren't, we're not going to be, we've got all these wonderful buildings and this beautiful campus here in Ephraim. We've got all those wide open shops and classrooms in Richfield. We don't want to take away from that at all. That's what we want to do. That's what we want our students to be able to participate in. So right now, our new normal is going to be remote learning and online, but we hope that this is as brief as possible so that we can get back to doing what we do best on face-to-face, and then offering other courses online where it would be an advantage to a student.
Yeah, well, that's well said. Is it safe for students to work at their on-campus jobs? Are we, is there, what would you say about that?
There's always risk involved anywhere. You go to the grocery store, there's risk, probably more risk at the grocery store than there is other places. If you're uncomfortable with working, you need to talk to your supervisor and find out. There is a risk that somebody could have gone up to visit a family member up in Salt Lake County and brings it back unknowingly. In fact, the CDC this morning has said that they think that between 25% and 50% of people that are carrying the COVID-19 virus don't even know they're carriers. And if they're sick with it, may not even know they're sick. Some people are aware that Chris Cuomo on CNN has the virus. He has absolutely no symptoms at all. even though he has the virus. So if you're uncomfortable, do have a frank and open conversation with your supervisor. But yeah, there's always going to be some risk anytime you go out to another location, but there may be risk in your home as well.
What about labs starting back on April 6th? That was an initial or the original sort of position, but we probably had to revise that.
Yeah, we have. Most of the science labs are up and running. A couple of the science labs are doing things a little bit differently. A good number of our shop labs, however, in Richfield don't start back until April 6th. And that's the only exception. So Richfield, a good number of their labs don't start again until April 6th. So check with your instructors, check on Canvas, see what's going on. If you're not sure, send them a message on Canvas for clarification so they get back to you.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, we only have a few more minutes, maybe 5. How do we encourage students to go home and stay home when we know that some students are actually commuting back and forth, right? They live in northern Utah and maybe come to campus for the week. We really discourage that. Any more to say about that?
We really do. We don't want you commuting back and forth because there's a chance that you can get sick, and there's a chance that you can make a roommate sick or bring it somewhere else. So if at all possible, try to be home. At the same time, we do recognize that some students may have a situation where maybe they don't have a place to live right now,
right.
Maybe, and so we recognize that. But in the event of an emergency, we wouldn't be able to care for somebody here. That's one of the situations that we're up against. So if at all possible, try to stay from home and study from home and work from home.
Yeah, that's good. Well, listen, we're going to wrap this up. Again, stay home, be safe, check the websites often. And in some ways, we really challenge the campus, a little bit of a call to action. So as you do your social media, what we'd like you to do is really over the next little while, when you have some extra time, is go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, and it doesn't have to be much. You can actually download some photos of Snow College and talk about the great experience, the really encouraging traditional, non-traditional students alike to consider Snow College. And there are also, pricing, tuition information if you want to be that specific about, helping those that are interested to understand. My guess is if you could just try and get the website where there's enrollment information to sort of channel students through. But really, remember, especially for 18 and 19-year-olds, parents have a huge role in the decision-making process. So those of you that that work here and are colleagues that actually are active on social media, do something, a couple times a week, once a day if you can, and just get the Snow College logo out there in terms of branding, in terms of keeping Snow College on front of mind. So you have been terrific. Thank you. Is there any other good news that we can latch onto, other than the fact is we'll get through this. This is the world has seen worse. We have the kind of the moral and character and fiber to get through this kind of thing. It will require some of our best efforts, but through it all, we're likely to actually find a lot out about ourselves and about how we can do things differently, maybe even better. And I really want to actually to people take heart. I know it seems hard in the moment. We are in the trees, right? We're in the forest right now, and it's hard to see beyond that. But there is clearing ahead. There is hope ahead. And we are really a terrific community, and there's no other community I'd rather be part of during this trying time than Snow College. You've got the final word.
No, I have seen so many good things done by so many people that have just been warm-hearted, wanting to help people out. Do that, keep a distance at doing that, but it's going really well.
Great. All right, Badger Nation. Be safe, take care of each other, take care of your loved ones, and we'll see you about this time next week. Thank you.